I'm Thomas Mayr, head of the National Soil Resources Institute at Cranfield University. I'm very pleased to welcome Alan Belward, the head of the Land Resource Management Unit of the European Commission's Joint Research Centre in Ispra in Italy. Before we start with the main topic, Alan, maybe you could explain a little bit the role of the JRC.
Yes, thank you, Thomas. The Joint Research Centre is a Directorate General of the European Commission. We're the in-house research organisation, and our job is to provide scientific evidence to support the European policy-making process.
Alan is giving a talk today entitled Searching for Balance in the Global Land Use Marketplace. What are the sort of demands and choices policymakers have today on land use options?
The issue is in the global land use marketplace, we're dealing with a finite land mass. We're not making any more land, and yet we have to provide food, fuel, fibre, energy for a rapidly expanding population. We passed 7 billion last year, and we've been adding to that at a rate of over 130 a minute ever since.
So how much land is then available for the human population, and in what shape the land is in?
Today we're being asked to make choices that the competition for land use is perhaps greater than ever. We have to decide, for example, now whether to use a forest as a carbon sink for something like the Climate Change Convention, whether we use it as a protection area for biological diversity, or whether we use it for fuel, or whether we cut it down altogether and convert it into agricultural land. Now, the problem we're facing is that the soil that's underpinning that, this fragile skin of the planet, really, if you look at the optimal soil for agriculture, we're talking about no more than 18% and probably less than that. So not a lot to feed 7 billion plus people.
So what technology we currently have available to monitor the demands on land and how much land is actually currently used?
One of the tools that we rely on very heavily are the polar orbiting satellites. These have been flying since 1972 when the first one was launched. Today we have over 60 flying and providing us with really very detailed pictures of the planet's surface and how it's changing. The good thing about the satellite imagery is that it provides the same measurement with the same precision, the same degree of information everywhere in equal measure. So we can make that all-important comparable adjustment between what we're observing in Sudan and what we're observing in Scotland, for example.
Given all this technology which we have available now, are there any challenges still?
One challenge is continuity. We may have 60 flying now, we may have only had one in 1972. If you're looking at measurements to relate to climate, you need to be very consistent in the measurement record over 30 years and into the future. For 100 years, we need to get that consistency. So that's a challenge. Then there's ownership. Who owns the data? How do we get it into the hands of the people that actually need it? I may be making accurate maps of land cover and land use in African countries now, but I need to get that information into the hands of the policymaker in those countries as well. And here we're using satellite telecommunications as a means of getting the data, the information that we've derived, into the hands of policy users in other parts of the world.
Seeing that soil and land is such a limited resource, are there any international treaties or initiatives trying to monitor and looking at these issues?
Yeah, indeed. I mean, we have the big three Rio Conventions, the Climate Change Convention, the Biological Diversity Convention and the Desertification Convention, and those are more and more aligning in terms of the information that they're using in terms of land cover and land cover change. And I'm extremely confident that the future, the Rio +20, revisiting those, which is starting next week, that soil, that this all-important thin layer that feeds us, is getting some of the attention that it deserves. It needs attention, and it's beginning to get that attention. So let's see what happens in Rio next week.
Thank you, Alan, for taking the time for talking to me.
You're welcome.